It is especially difficult for very few female journalists who make it to the top because of family commitments and attitudes towards them, like, male dominance, family restrictions, an unfavorable workplace environment, lack of training facilities, lack of security, and also inflexible work hours. So, as journalism evolves into a hybrid digital print animal, adding information presentation tools like social media, and also migrating to more open and inclusive platforms, acknowledgement of the same barriers, gender being one among many, needs to be key in equalizing balance of voices shaping content. Now, with this, we have in the studio Miss Orun Yanga Elueche, and she's a journalist and a media consultant, and she'll be here she's actually here to, discuss this particular topic with us. Good morning, Orun.
Hey, good
and
morning,
thank you for joining us on Daybreak Extra once again.
The way she calls me makes me laugh every time.
Why? Did I call it wrong?
I don't you just say it. I'm just saying. The way you call it, just.
All right. So Let's start with this. What are some of the biggest challenges that you think, or that a woman actually face in workplaces, especially female journalists?
Well, there's like you mentioned a lot of those. Women face a lot. There's discrimination in different cultures, religions, and areas, a part of the world. Literally, traditions have a certain way of, pushing women to the background. There's this saying in some parts of the world that women are to be seen and not heard. That women are to look pretty and not be vocal. I mean, in some part, there was a part of the world I went to. They were surprised to see a female journalist. I think I was the first female journalist who was that vocal, and it was surprising to them that I was that vocal. Yeah. And so it kind of the funny thing was, some people liked me for it. Some people tried to make me suppress it and then cool down a bit. And one man told me, he said, "I've never seen a woman as active as you are." And for me, it was surprising, because at some point I had to ask, who says this is how a woman, this is the much energy a woman should have? At what point was that measurement drawn out? So, there's that discrimination, there's sexual harassment, you have sexual harassment issues, you have, like she mentioned, male dominance, it's a man's world as it is. And family restrictions. I mean, a woman has a kid, has a husband. Recently something happened, and some of us just made decisions, and some women who are married couldn't make such decisions because they are married. They have to seek their husband's consent now. And these are some of the issues that people face. Even pay, sometimes the pay is not equal. That's another thing with gender. Gender discrimination, that's a problem too. Still in the workplace and in media. It happens a lot. I've been in the media for, I'm not that old, but I've been in the media
for quite a while.
Let me be calculating I've been in the media for at least more than 10 years. And I know that, it may seem as if people are not, it's not active. That's how it will look from the outside. Yeah. And even on the inside, they tend to cover it up with some kind of, professional-ish type things. But the truth is that as a woman, So imagine having a show like this, right? And then we're all sitting here, and you just have a situation where there's a guy, right? Most times they wouldn't want to make the guy the main anchor over the female. And then when they are co-anchors, right? And maybe, there's usually this thing we used to call sidekick. I think that's been kicked out of the media now. There's the sidekick. You have the main anchor, and then you have the sidekick. Even when the guy is the sidekick, you see that he tends to take over the show. Yes. Seriously, I mean, if you've been in the media in that kind of situation, even when you are the main anchor, you find yourself struggling to, and then you even, so we have been made to even feel inferior as it is, because the culture around which you were trained or raised affects your mentality.
You have to respect the man.
So you're made to feel as if it's wrong for you to shush him or tell him, hey, calm down, I'm the main, let me be the main guy here, this is my team. Relax, let me do my work. It's sin, and you now even feel bad speaking up.
Yes.
You know, against the prejudice. And so you become prejudiced against yourself. So you are resenting him. At the same time, you can't speak up. That's a problem. So you have that particular situation, and then you have a scenario where, you know, you have I worked in a station once. I had a co-anchor who liked me. He asked me out. I said no, and that was the beginning of the death of our show. Somebody I know what I'm talking about. The person looking at me nodding their head, but they know. The person just said, you know, it was over time. He asked. I refused, but I noticed, you know, suddenly, it wasn't obvious to everybody, but the synergy between us on the show
was
died.
dampened.
Listeners noticed and started calling in. But guess what? I was the main anchor. He was the sidekick at the time. But listeners were calling and saying, I should allow him talk. Because first of all, they don't know that I'm the main anchor. Because we don't make it obvious. I try not to, I don't do that. I'm the boss. Everybody sits under me.
It's teamwork.
Yeah, exactly. And so it was a problem. So they just thought that we went out of sync. They didn't know that this was the issue. So you can see that in this one place, right, that you had sexual harassment issues, you had gender inequality issues, and all of that in one situation, in one scenario. And I couldn't talk because the people who were the bosses at the time in the office were mostly male. Right? So who do you go and complain? How do you go and complain to a male that a male is being a male?
How would he understand?
How would they?
You know?
Very true.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I'd like to ask, for you, what was the drive that made you to be different? That, you know, what was that thing that you said to yourself that, you know, women are told to be quiet, but I'm going to stand out. I'm going to speak up. I'm going to be more vocal. I'm going to own myself.
The thing is, so I'm going to say this, not just for here, but for every woman or young girl out there who's watching and listening. There is no set down rule as to how a woman should look or be, right? We are born with different character formations, different genes. You find women who took more genes from their dad than their mom. They say it's a tomboy. She's a woman. She's a woman. She's a human being. There are guys you see who seem a lot more tender than most women. Yeah. It doesn't make them tom girl, tom wait, auntie girl. They don't. Nobody calls them. You see that prejudice normally. A woman who behaves like a man is a tomboy. A guy who behaves like, who has a trait of what women should look like, is not given a name. He's still a man.
Yes.
Why do we have to be called that? You know. So if you are who you are, it's my character. I grew up as a very strong woman. I grew up in a house where I could speak. Nobody was, you know, I didn't see that male dominance thing in my home. You know, everybody was allowed to be who they were, you know. So I just grew up like that. It's coming out into the world and I realized, wait, people expect me to be different, to act a certain way, you know. And then I'm like, they say they know they teach old dog new tricks. You know, I've grown up like this. Changing me, you might have to drain my blood and remove some of my genotype DNA things and replace it with the one you think for woman. You go and buy it and come and put it because this is who I is. You understand? Yes. This is who I am.
Okay, now one of the major challenges that women actually face, you know, in workplaces is, you know, family. When I say family, I mean, you know, having to share your time and, you know, while pursuing your career with motherhood or, you know, being or with being a wife. How do you think women can actually navigate this and actually balance, you know, career and motherhood?
Well, there's a saying that goes this way. It says you can actually have it all, right? There's one that says you can't have it all. And more recently, there's another that says you really can have it all, right? So first of all, unfortunately, not everybody gets to marry their dream spouse, male or female, right? But when you find somebody who loves you really, they support you. So the first step is, as a woman who's looking to get married or settle down, open your eye and find the one that supports you. But then when you are in marriage, as a mother, you have kids. The kids don't ask you when you resume work. The child can just, you can be on your way to work and your child starts throwing up and you can't go anymore. You have to change route straight to the hospital. So for me, you have to plan out your time, right? You have to plan out your time. You have to know where you are, right? Regions, some people in Lagos, the time they wake up, it's not the time those in Abuja wake up. It's not the time those in Port Harcourt wake up. It's not the time those in Kano wake up.
Yeah.
Everybody has a different schedule. So, and that's why there's a lot going on. Some people have to leave their kids with strangers, and then you have issues of abuse and all that. As a mother, you must plan your time. First of all, I know we will come to that, but media agencies have to make provisions for nursing mothers. Bring a crèche, set up a crèche. You can find half room safe in your structure for a crèche for women who have kids, right? Husbands these days now, everybody works. Husband is working, wife is working. Cannot carry the man, tell the man to carry the children.
No,
Most of the nurturing is done by the mother. So as a woman, you plan your time. At some point, you have to choose. That's the plain truth. It's painful, but at some time you have to choose. What's important to me now? Children or work? Because sometimes the work can be stressful. As a journalist, you can be called up, there's breaking news, there's war in Russia, move now. You have been assigned to cover it. What happens to your kids? So you can make arrangements. There are nannies, right? People, professional nannies. You can have a relation come and stay with you, put them through school or pay them something at the end of the month, just to help you nanny. It's a job to help you look after your kids. There are offices that let women bring their children to work, and keep them in an office somewhere, while she works. That's one way to do it. But you must plan your time. That's the most important time. If you plan your time, for example, those who have kids going to school, you drop your kids in school, you know that by 2, they are out. When you go for a job, you make a contract. You insist in your contract that you have kids who are growing and so times what you will work. Pay me according to my work time. So the office knows that so time to so time you are out. Even if the pay is half, no wahala. It's the agreement, right? So you must plan your time as a woman. Secondly, understanding between husbands, and this is where men come in. There's a lot of march and walk and protest, not protest, but support groups now saying him for her, right? That is, the men have a role to play. If your wife is, working a stressful job or something, be supportive. Whatever you think, maybe you think you're making so much money, it matters not what she's earning. One day, it will be clear for you, because take it out, whether you take it or not, women contribute largely financially to homes.
Yes.
I've done a survey on radio once. I just threw it open and women called. And if you hear responses, it was surprising to know how much women put into the home compared to what their husbands bring and what the husband thinks he's bringing or thinks she's putting.
House rent and school fees.
But my dear, sometimes the school fees is due. The man doesn't have the money. The woman pays and waits for the man to bring. Sometimes they don't collect it back. Sometimes they collect half back. And sometimes some of the things they say bring in school, the woman just brings it from her pocket and gives,
Uniform, books,
the kids. The man doesn't need to know all the time. So you need to support your spouse. As a woman, plan your time, but also talk to your husband. Make him see reason. While sometimes you either need a house help, that's like a nanny type person.
To make it easier for you to navigate career and, or have a perfect work-life balance. All right, so now you find out that in a lot of, media houses, when it comes to opinion pages, editors, chairs, and mostly leadership positions, you find out that it is male-dominated. Even though you have a lot of women who can actually do the job much more better, right?
If they now manage to put one woman there,
they feel like it's balanced.
It's balanced. Like you've done so well. Anytime you want to talk, you just think, but we have
a woman, exactly. Do you understand? So what can women actually do, or what can be done to change the narrative?
Yeah, so there's a lot of these things lie in our power as women to help ourselves. Women need to support one another, right? Offer support as much as you seek support, give support. So as a woman, you have this, in the workplace, you have this responsibility to your fellow woman. It's not a competition. You guys are not competing. If there's any competition between you and the other side, right? Don't tear your fellow woman down, right? You need to support one another as women. You need to speak up. If something happens and goes wrong, I'm not saying support what's bad, but if something goes wrong, don't be quick to tear down your fellow woman. If you're already in a place where there's only one, it seems like there's only one slot for a woman, right? And then you just wake up and something happens, you want to tear her down so you can get that spot. You don't do that. It will go round. And if you fight your game hard enough, there will be more spaces for more women. All women can shine. We need to support ourselves. When something goes wrong in the workplace, you have situations where a woman in a respectable office is told that her male counterparts are harassing female staff, right? And you don't do anything serious about it. You should stand up right there and say, no, don't do that. When you see a female staff being victimized, you should ask her, is something wrong? Feel free to tell me. If he's harassing you, tell me. If something is up, tell me. And when they tell you, you should be able to fight.
For them.
And they should know that this is a safe space
But isn't
for
that
women.
the job of the human resource? Because you have a lot of people saying
No, even without
the human
think-
resources
I
are
think
not so
without
human.
Human
They're
resources-
inhuman.
I don't necessarily think it has to be human resources. Say, for example, you have your reporter who has an editor that is a lady. If you feel like your fellow male reporter is harassing you and you cannot go directly to the HR, you can mention it to your editor. And if she sees how scared you are about the situation, she will take it up with the HR
On your
manager.
behalf.
Because, right there and then, she's not even in a more authoritative position to, when she's speaking. Because also your position matters when you're going to report these cases. Because if you're like at the bottom of the food chain, they won't take you serious. There's
Proper
a way.
food chain.
I would call
Serious
I'll call
jungle.
it food chain because there is a way a junior female staff will report an issue and a senior female staff will report an issue. You would see the way they will handle it. It's going to be different. They would pay more respect because, first of all, she's already on a top level. You don't want issues to escalate from there. But if you're at the bottom of the food chain, so just be like, this one, what can she do at the end?
What if
of
the
day?
lion? What if the lioness? The lioness you are reporting to is the wife
Alright.
of the babe of the lion that is
Okay,
devouring.
well, we're discussing, challenges that women face, in workplaces, especially in the media. We've actually listed a few of them, from abuse to sexual harassment, marital issues, spending inadequate time with family, participating in less family functions. Some women are actually, restricted to anchoring less challenging programs. And also, one thing that we have not discussed right now, because let me just take a look at this particular analysis,
Exactly.
okay, so there's an analysis by the International Women's Media Foundation. It's a report that cites in 2013, by the way, and it cites that 64% of female journalists around the world, that's out of 875 women from countries across the globe, reported experiencing intimidation, threats, and abuse while working. And these threats include, even murder, confiscation of materials, detention, killing, deportation, arrest, and intimidation as well. And the story of the female journalist who was actually shot while on duty. A lot of women actually face, such, instances. Now, you have some organizations in Nigeria. I don't know if it's changed, but, a while back, while I ventured into, everything media, a lot of women were actually relegated to the background. There were more entertainment, should I say reporters, or they were on the desk, you understand? So it got to a point that I was the only female reporter amongst men. Do you get? It was men, it's men that actually go out and do the whole work.
Reporting.
I don't know why it is like that, but aside that, let's talk about pay gap, right?
yeah.
Especially, when it comes to females who actually work more than the men. or, in most cases, you know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about. You have a lot of women who actually do most of the work, and yet the men still get paid more than, them. What's your take on that?
Well, it's what's happening, right? That's the society we live in here, right? Unfortunately, it's a global trend because you do have people from the US, from Canada, who complain about this very thing. This same thing is a problem over there.
It doesn't make
But
it
they
all
are
right,
beginning
though.
to sort it out, right? Of course, it's not all right. Why shouldn't I get paid for my work?
Especially
And
when I'm
then,
working as hard as you are.
yeah,
Exactly.
So one thing that can be done about it is, before you venture into something as a woman, know your honors, right? Know what is due you. Investigate. Okay, this company, what do they pay on the average? Whether male or female, what do they pay on the average? Right? There's not like gender pay. I've never heard it. Really, there's really nothing like gender pay. It's just the mentality people have. So you know what it is. Let's say they pay men, they pay generally, they pay 500,000 naira, in a month. When you're bargaining your salary, you insist on 500,000 naira a month. Whether you are single, whether you are married, whether you have dependents or not, it's the job. If I'm offering you just as much as this person is offering you, I'm getting just as much pay. When you go to the market, you pay the man. Do you buy yam more expensive from the man than the woman? No. They will even be bringing it down for you. But they sell at the same rate. Yes. Why should my services be, tampered or whatever? Because I'm woman. Almost as a woman, I will charge you more, sir, because when I'm doing the work, I'm adding love. I'm adding friendship. Yes. I'm adding nurture. I will do it more than the male. That's the thing, right? Men will just do the work, do it, and go. Women when they want to do something, they put their soul, blood, sweat, passion. That's why some of them say there's a word they use for it. Is it you're too passionate?
Or emotional?
They use sensitive, you're too emotional about. Don't do things emotionally. We will do it emotionally. That's the only way the thing can work well.
But do you think it's that submissiveness in women that keeps us where we are? Because even sometimes in the office, based on training and all that, you don't want to show yourself. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. Like, you've been told respect the man. So as much as you work hard, you're not earning as much as the man is earning, you still feel this need to reduce yourself in some way so you don't cause
overshadow
trouble. Yes, you don't overshadow the man.
Well, like I said earlier, the environment and culture affects us. Yeah. That's why I said at some point you become even prejudiced against yourself, because that's how you're raised. That's another reason I said that when you are starting your job, it's just unfortunate that we're in a climate where people, if you offer them 2,000 naira, they will jump at it. Poverty is really high. It's unfortunate. But normally, when you're coming into a place, there's a contract to be signed. I tell people, even if it's sales girl you want to do, if you can insist on a contract, insist on a contract. So it's binding and you don't get tossed about and treated however they please. Insist on your money. Say, that or not, my brother, when we are going to the field, the bullet is flying. It's not choosing who they paid more than the person they don't pay at all. The bullet is moving. So the report, same thing. When I'm writing my report, I'm not writing it based on, I'm a woman, I won't write full story. I will write half. I will write full story. I won't add the emotions in the story, Yeah. So it's not about that. Don't start what you can't finish. Don't take a job when they tell me about, when people complain about government workers or something, or do you know how much police earns? You pity them. That's why they beg. This one cannot do the full work. They are breaking onions in the office because they did not get paid. When you took the job, did they not tell you how much to pay you? You accepted.
All right.
So don't accept.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the way to start. If 3 women speak against it,
then
all women say we are not doing. They will realize there's a problem and that adjustment will happen.
Or either
what do you think
or...
of the woman that out of 70, when 68 said they are doing 62, now the other 2 now be like, I can't do it too.
That's the problem. They are sellouts. That's why I said, if every woman speaks up, we will all get the victory. The truth is you would always have sellouts, right? But you cannot compare the two to the strength of the 68, right? Those 68 women can bring down the world. Those two can stay there and be crushed by the world, or rise with the other women and take what is theirs.
Okay, so just before we, wrap up, can you just give us your final take on how, underrepresentation and misrepresentation of women can be tackled at a workplace?
Oh, but like I said, if you have in an organization, certain things should be. There's this gender law that's been. I don't think it was fully passed and then adopted and then implemented. Eventually, it will be. It started from somewhere. The women's right to vote started from somewhere. Some women fought, gave their lives, gave their all to give us rights to walk about, right? Or to work, to even work, safe, to even vote. So it's a gradual process, but it will happen, whether you like it or not. It will happen. The workplace insists, if you're a woman in a high placement, who has a high placement in the workplace or in an administrative, with an administrative status, you should speak up. Every workplace should be mandated to make provision for women who have kids, nursing mothers. The way it is now for the people living with disability, every workplace must have their structure built to accommodate such people. It should be made the same way for women who have children, right? Every man support your wife. Because trust me, imagine your wife becomes such a massive journalist and she works with the #1 media house in the world, right? And the pay is coming to you. A lot of people will still ask, who is this woman's husband, right? You have people like Dora Akunyili, right? Okonjo-Iweala. The respect people are called, nobody knows, I don't even know the husband's name, but the respect people are called such men. I mean, you have to be a man.
Yes.
For your wife to rise up to this level, then where you are is,
and you accept it.
You are always placed. You're always seen as above the woman. So when your wife rises, you are rising too.
Yes.
So that's how you should see it. It's not as if when she's rising, she's suppressed. No, she rises, you rise. That's the thing. Okay. So men support your wives. Women support each other in the workplace, and the entire workplace needs to be changed. Employers, HR, there are laws, labor laws that actually speak for you as women. Take it, read.
Labor laws are
knowledge.
not taken serious in
Nigeria.
Knowledge, no, hang on. Knowledge, right, is power. Yes. If you know, you know. I've taken a HR course. I know how seriously HR people take anything that looks like it might give the company a bad name in that kind of light. It can affect even business. Yes. Foreign companies will not do business with you if sexual harassment is a daily thing in your organization. So people are scared of these things. So speak. People are so afraid. I say the problem with Nigerians mostly is they don't know. If you know, you move. And once you move, you can make anything happen. So as a woman, know your honors. You cannot be as a woman lazy and expect that because you're a woman now, they will not pay you according to how they're paying everybody. You need to act. Gender equality, inequality. You are cheating, you have to know your job and do it well.
If, as a woman, are you supposed to try to match up to the man to prove a point? Like match up to the same energy and effort the man is giving just because you're trying to prove that, I can do this as much as the man is doing. Sometimes you're not built for it.
See, my dear, you are, as a woman, it's unfortunate that this is what happens. People try to match up to the man.
Yes.
No, you should match up to the best you should try to be the best at what you do.
Yeah, because
not because you are trying to show the men that you can do.
It's the same thing as
most people are always trying to match up.
Competing with yourself and not with someone else.
Yeah, try to be the best at what you do.
Because he's a man and we're in the same position, I'm going to show him that I can do better.
Do you notice it ends up being toxic?
Yeah, it's never really.
It's not about you.
Yourself.
It's the profession. Be the best. Learn it. When they are looking for fault, let them not be able to find. Let people say. Let it be said that this woman, they walk even past her meal. Let them do the comparison. Just do your job. Okay. Be the best at what you do.
All right. Well, I think with this, we would actually wrap up this particular discussion. Thank you so much, Orun, for joining us on the show today.
Yeah,
It
no,
was,
it's a pleasure.
an absolute pleasure having you.
It's a pleasure.
So that
Thank
was
you.
Orun Yanga Olueche. She's a journalist and a media consultant. Talking about how women can actually navigate all the challenges that are actually faced in workplaces.